Hello! I believe I did an intro, but if not, welcome. This is my makeup inventory for the end of 2024. I'm really excited to get into it and to be able to compare my collection from last year, the year before, so on and so forth, and really look at how my makeup collection has changed over the years. So of course we are starting out, I feel like I always do pretty much the same order in these videos, but just to be clear, I'm starting out with my foundations. I have a lot of foundations this year. It might not look that way to you, but for me, foundation has never been something that I want a ton of. And last year, okay, I have the spreadsheet pulled up here. Okay, I should clarify, last year I started with primers actually, but this year I have zero primers, zero. And that was my goal in last year's video. I was like, I hope that next year I don't even have to mention this category because I have none. And that is the case. I have zero primers. I am not completely opposed to them. If someone decluttered one to me, I would probably take it. If I was really, really convinced that one would change my life, then I would buy one again. But otherwise, I think I would rather skip that category entirely. That is part of my overall curation of my collection. I just realized I don't care that much. But for foundations, last year, wow, this is crazy. In October, I had one, October 2023. And then at the end of 2023, I had 4. My goal was 1. My goal was 1 foundation. Midway through this year, my goal switched to 3 because I think I realized that was a little bit more realistic than 1. And now I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When I was counting this morning, I forgot about the 6th one, which... This is the newest addition to my collection. I don't even know if I've shown this on camera, actually. This is from Unleashia, which is a Korean beauty brand. I think I've only used this maybe 4 or 5 times. My mom gave this to me. It's a bit darker of a shade than is perfect for me, so this is more of a spring-summer shade. I actually haven't even played around with it that much because, as you may know, I have been trying to pan this foundation this year. Here, I'll show it. This is the Dior Air Flash foundation, which is like a spray. I don't even want to spray because it gets literally everywhere. I have to spray it so close to my hand. Okay. Like, I have ruined clothing. I destroy our sink with this foundation. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's like a moussey texture. I just don't love the formula or the texture or the way it looks on my skin. It's also a touch too light for me. But I have been trying to pan it this year, and I've gone a significant way. I've finished off quite a bit of this. The packaging looks just so destroyed. I have this thing. I think that high-end products should have high-end packaging. This, to me, is not high-end. This does not look good. But anyways, I have this, and I have 2 other ones. So my mom passed on quite a few of these to me. I think, honestly, there might have been like 6 total. And I have not known what to do with them. I think I might pass them on to friends or something. Like, I've already decluttered some of them. I still have them in my home because I haven't figured out what to do with them, but I have, sort of decluttered them mentally for my collection. But since this is taking so long, and because it hasn't, I don't know, I go back and forth. Some days I'm like, oh, it doesn't look that bad. And other days I'm like, ugh, why am I still using this? So because of that, maybe I should declutter both of these as well. Like, I don't even know if I should count them in my collection because obviously they're brand new. I've never used them. I think they are darker shades. So I was going to use this one as a bronzer, but because it is quite a bit of work to apply this already, like I have to spray it on my hand, being very careful, and then use a beauty blender. I can't use it with a brush. I cannot use it with my fingers. I don't love using a beauty blender for anything except foundation. So that means that I would have to use it as a bronzer, obviously, and then I wouldn't be able to use my beauty blender for foundation. So I don't know. It just seems like a lot of extra work for a product that I don't really love. So I may declutter this. I'm kind of thinking I should right now. Is that crazy? I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to declutter this right now. I've never decluttered anything in an inventory before, but I'm decluttering that one. This one I'm not so sure about because I think it is a better color for me. Oh no, it's even darker. It's even rosier. You know what? I think I'm going to declutter this too. Wow. I don't know what's gotten into me. We are decluttering 2 foundations. So I guess I have 4 foundations, not 6, which is great, which is much more manageable. Honestly, even 4 feels like a lot to me, but 6 is unmanageable. Wow, look at this cute little collection. So we already talked about these 2. So this one I got just a couple of months ago. This one I've had since the beginning of 2024. Same with this one, beginning of 2024. And this is more of a skin tint. I mean, you can use it as foundation. I don't tend to use it by itself just because it is so glowy and it doesn't provide very much coverage at all. But I am not creating a separate category for skin tints, so I'm just putting it in the foundation category. It is also a little bit too dark of a shade for me. Like, it works, it's fine, but it's better in summer. See, this is better in winter, this is better in summer. Why don't I have any shades that are perfect for me? I think you can tell the difference between those 2 shades there. It's kind of hard to tell. But you can even see how glowy it is, which is not my preference. That's not my preference, that's not my preference. But this one is my preference. This is, I've re-fallen back in, I mean, I've always been in love with it, but I think when I use other foundations for a while and then I come back to this, I'm just like, wow, this is so superior. Like, I think this is going to be a repurchase. I so rarely repurchase anything because, first of all, I'm trying to keep my collection small and curated, so I only repurchase if I need something. Like, if I finish off an eyeliner, I'm not going to repurchase the eyeliner because I have other eyeliners that I should get through first, even if I love the eyeliner. But this one, like, I need a foundation and I need a holy grail foundation, and that's what this is for me. It's so blurring. It's the perfect shade. You're really not getting the full effect on camera, but this is perfect for my skin. So this one I love. This one I like depending on the circumstance. This one I dislike, and this one I'm not sure about. So we've got a little bit of everything here, but these are my 4 foundations at the moment. Goodbye to these 2. Wow, what an effective inventory. That is not the purpose at all of a makeup inventory, but today it has already been a very efficient day. The next category is obviously concealer, but I actually only have one, and I feel like it goes really nicely with this, so let's just pull it in now. This is the NYX Bear With Me concealer, and it is a pump. I don't love that it's a pump. With pumps, I always find that too much comes out, like more than I need, and I have to be very, very careful about how much comes out. But other than that, this is great. Great shade match, great formula, lasts really well, and I feel like it goes nicely. Look at that duo. I'm like, how is this drugstore? You know what I mean? Like, how is this $78 Canadian and looks atrocious? And how are these each like $10? Well, okay, this is like 16 or something, but still, they look so nice. I love the way this collection looks. So this is my base category. I really want to convey like why I prefer the Fenty so much. Can you see that, like, the e.l.f. one, it's so glowy. It's like reflective, and this one, just like the way it looks on my pores with my hair, it's not good. It doesn't sink in well. It's like on top of the skin. Whereas the Fenty one, is this even gonna show? Like, you can't even tell it's there. Like, maybe a tiny bit in the hairs. It's just so much more flawless. Anyways, I felt like this picture was giving a better effect than just like showing my hand, because I feel like you can't tell super well. But anyways, I spent way too long on foundations. Let's move on to bronzers. Okay, normally I don't do categories all together like cream and powder, but I don't have very many bronzers. Happily, bronzers is not one of my favorites, so let's just put them all together. So this is the Halo Glow Beauty Wand in the contour shade. I think this is the right shade for me. I quite like it. I don't like it to the extent that I would repurchase it. I am interested in trying other bronzer contour shades that are cream products, but I have enjoyed using it. I wish there was some way to tell how much is left because, you know, with cream and liquid products, they don't last as long as powder. So if I should be using this up within the next like 6 to 12 months, I kind of want to know, but I don't want to be aggressively panning it unless I have to. So anyone in the comments who has had this and used it up fully, can you let me know how long it took you to use it up with either organic use or with project panning? Because I'm kind of thinking that this might be finished in 2025 and that is the right timeline for it, but I have no idea. Like there's not really, it still feels full even though I know that I've used a lot up of it, so I'm not sure. Anyways, that is my one cream contour. I would be interested in potentially having two, but I currently have one and I'm fine with that. The next one is this Kevyn Aucoin Duo. I didn't know how to categorize this. I'm actually not sure how I categorized it in the past, but I'm just including it as a bronzer because that's what makes sense to me right now because I mostly use this side. I don't really touch on that side too much. Sometimes I'll use, like I won't use it as a highlight, but sometimes I'll use it a little bit on the brow bone or even to lighten the inner corner of the eye. But I think you can see, like based on the shadow all around it, I have gotten more use out of this past year. I don't know if it's gonna focus, but I am thinking that this is a product that I would be trying to get more use out of, or even trying to hit pan on in 2025, because let's face it, I've only got 2 powder bronzers, and so I'm gonna be working on one of these next year, so why not work on the one that is actually feasible to see some progress on? This one, 0 progress showing, let me tell you. But this one, I think I could make a dent in it. So do not be surprised if in my first project pan of 2025, this is what I choose to work on. It took a while for me to start using it, but now that I have been using it, I do really like it. I think I got this in a buns trade. I know a lot of people use this as like a nose contour. I don't think I have a good brush for nose contour, so I still got to figure that out, but even just like on my cheekbones, it's good. This one, I don't know if this will ever leave my collection, to be honest, because it's so big and I don't dislike it. I don't love it, but like it does the job, you know what I mean? You can still see the imprint of the embossing on there, even though I've had it for so long. I think you can see the rings a little bit in the center. Do you see those circles? So that's something that makes me think that I have used it, but yeah, this is going to be in my collection for a long time. That's my prediction. So we've got 2 powder bronzers and 1 cream bronzer. I can't remember if in the past I talked about my numbers in previous years. I think I did. Concealer, last year I had 2. This year I only have 1, so that's good. Those numbers have gone down. For cream bronzers, last year I had 0 cream bronzers, now I have 1. And for powder bronzer, last year I had 2, and again I still have 2. So pretty similar in these numbers. And I will say that I am doing 2 videos. I always do a 2-part inventory just because it takes so long to show my entire collection, and maybe you guys would watch an 1.5-hour long video, but I think it makes more sense to break it up into 2. And so the first half of this is, you know, foundation, bronzer, blush, highlight, all of that. That part of my collection I don't think changes too much because all of those products take a long time to use up, and most of the products I quite like, so it's not like I've decluttered tons and tons of them. Whereas in the second half, I think there is more significant changes in those products because the majority of the second part of my inventory, by the way, I will link these videos here from last year. The majority of the second part of my inventory is lip products, which is the single biggest part of my makeup collection and is necessarily the part of my collection that changes the most over the year because I just try to use up so much lip products over the course of the year. I have a lipstick project pan. I will link that here as well. And in that, I probably pan about 6 lip products a year on top of whatever else organic use I get and maybe any potential declutters. So that part of my collection I think changes more than this part of my collection. I just wanted to preface it by saying that because otherwise it doesn't seem like the numbers have changed too much, which is fine. Like I want the numbers to change. I don't want them to change that much. Okay, that's it for bronzers. Let's move on to blush. Okay, let's move those over there. Okay, this is a lot considering that I spent the entire year trying to curate down my blush collection, but let's divide it into segments, if that makes sense, because I've got some palettes, some blush palettes, I've got some cream blushes, I've got some powder blushes, so yeah. Okay. Would you like my friendship bracelets? These are all ones that I traded for on the final Toronto weekend. They're so, oh no, actually I made the Toronto one like 8 months ago maybe. So cute. Okay, so let's start with the palettes, I think, because that's the smallest category. So these are my blush palettes, and okay, last year I had 4 face palettes. I didn't have 2 of these, but I counted this as a face palette, but I think it makes more sense to break it up by type of product. So let's just do blush palettes. 2 of my blush palettes this past year I ended up decluttering because I did not enjoy them, and I'm really, really happy with that decision. These ones, these were gifts from my mom, and appallingly, I have not gotten very much use out of these because I was on my blush roulette all year, and so I really wanted to focus on the blushes that I had for a long time and I didn't get enough use out of. And I had 12 powder blushes, and so I assigned 1 for each month of the year. So I didn't really have the chance to use these, / I didn't allow myself to. But this next year, this is what I've decided, this is what I'm starting the year with, because I really like them based on the few times that I use them, and they deserve more use. So, you know, maybe over the holidays I'll use them a little bit. I'll let myself deviate from my December blush roulette blush because I already know how I feel about that one. I don't need to discover anything new. I know that's not getting decluttered, but I might reach for these a little bit in December, and then these are the ones that I'm going to use in January and February to get use out of them like I should have this past year. So these are from Jason Wu. These are not going anywhere. I love them, despite the fact that I said I do not like blush palettes and I will not be bringing any more face palettes into my life. These, I actually like all the shades in them. But this one, I'm thinking it is time to declutter. Some people might be happy about this, some people might be sad, but just for years I've tried to love it and I just haven't. Like, I don't like the formula. I don't like the shades on me. Like, it's too glowy, it's too highlighty, it's too powdery. The shades do not look nice. Look how pink that is. So you can see those are super glowy. I might even try them as like blush toppers for a bit. This is probably going to be my March blush in this year's blush roulette. I'm not doing a blush roulette in the same way, but I am trying to work through all of my blushes similarly. That is just, it's just so pink that I have to use such a small amount. And those two are just so powdery and sheer. So I will give this one more month and then I will decide if it should be decluttered. I'm thinking yes. Right now I'm thinking I want to give this one more month and then get rid of it, but you know, I'll give it a final chance. So those are my blush palettes. Let's move on to powder blushes. Last year I had 9 powder blushes. This year I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This year I have 7, so I decluttered 2 of my powder blushes. I honestly thought it was more than that, but it's because I decluttered 4 blushes this past year through my blush roulette. 2 of them were powder blushes and 2 of them were blush palettes. And this next year I also want to get some of these out. So I'm thinking the ones that I will declutter are this one. This one is from Wet n Wild in Mellow Wine. I can't even swatch anymore because I've got all these shades. Like, It's nice, but I don't know, I just don't love it like I used to, and I've used it so much and you cannot tell at all. I think it's just very, very densely packed. So this is the first one that I'm looking at as one to move out of my collection. This is the next candidate. Milani Luminoso. I know it's a classic. I don't know if I will be able to do that. Like, I honestly don't know if I will allow myself to declutter this, so we'll see. But this is the next one that is sort of on the chopping block in my mind. Others that have stuff going on. This one, I'm not decluttering it, but I think I might be able to pan it next year. This is going to be in my, well, obviously it's my December blush, so excited to get to use that for the entire month. But this is also one that I will have in my project pan in 2025. Not because I want to get it out of my collection, but because this is the second one. Like, I've already panned one of these in Party. I love it. It's a mini. It's doable, and so I am going to do it. So love that one. We've also got this MAC one here, which, what a travesty that this smashed. What I am going to do is take part of this, like a few pieces, into a small container and then use that as either like a loose blush or even as an under eye powder. I used that a little bit while this was in my blush roulette in October, and I like the way it looked under the eyes, so I think that could be a good way to use it. I really don't want to repress it because that always changes the formula and consistency for me, but I also can't bring myself to declutter it. So I fear this is sticking around even though it does not look so great, but I want to find other ways to still use it. Which one have we not talked about? This Tarte one, I went into the blush roulette month with it thinking that I would be decluttering it, but once you can see the hard pan, like it gets hard pan so easily. But if you scrape it off, which you have to do kind of regularly, it is a really, really nice shade. It's a nice neutral. I would say like most similar to this. It's just not very pigmented because of the hard pan. I should probably just scrape off the entire top layer, but that's so sad because of the imprint. But I do like the shade. It just takes a little bit of extra work. So if you're thinking about buying these Tarte blushes, don't do it. Like, the minis for whatever reason are fine, but don't get the full size, because based on, the way people commented on my TikToks talking about the hard pan on this blush, everyone has experienced the same thing. This is not just a me problem. These get hard pans super, super easily. So nice shade, not a nice blush. Two left to discuss. This is from Kiko. This is a hot pink, which is surprising because I actually like it compared to that other hot pink. See, I think it's because it takes more work to get pigmented. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, it's a lighter shade than that one. It's not quite as hot pink, but also I have to swatch it like many, many times in order to get the same pigment. It's not nearly as powdery. Do you see how powdery that one is? There's like still powdery pieces. It's not powdery at all, and it takes more work, and so you can't accidentally over apply this as you can with that Hourglass one. So I really like it when I want like a bright cheek. This is really nice. This was a good rediscovery as part of my blush roulette this year. And the final one is this MAC one. This is the one that I have been using in November. Right now it is November 27th, so I am almost through my month with this. Really nice nude, but again, it has gotten hard pan this past month, which was a surprise. First time for that. It's more of a coral. I would say it's more similar to Mellow Wine. It is a little bit powdery, not too much. Not as much of a favorite as I remember it being, but still a good blush. Still enjoyed my month with it, but I am excited, of course, to move on to my Tarte final blush in my blush roulette. So I've really, as you can tell, gotten a lot better acquainted with all these blushes. I think in last year's video where I was doing my blush inventory and talking through all these, I was like, wow, I haven't reached for this in so long. I really got to get better in touch with it. I don't know how I feel about it. Now I fully know how I feel about all of these. Even for the ones I haven't decided yet if I'm decluttering, I'm giving them one more month just to like enjoy that usage. But I know that I don't love this. I know that I don't love this. I know that I like this more than I expected and this more than I expected. So I'm really happy happy that I'm better in touch with all of the blushes in my collection, because that was the entire point of my blush roulette. So succeeded, which is great. But next year you might see an even smaller powder blush collection. We shall see. And then finally for blushes, these are my cream blushes. So 2 of these are actually new. Let's talk about those afterwards. This is Cloud Paint from Glossier in Spark. This I really need to give its own month, because I think I got this in December 2023. So, you know, this is a newer product in my collection. I have not even had it for a year, and yet I've barely used it this past year, again, because of my blush roulette. So I anticipated that. I'm just gonna use a tiny bit because it's so pigmented. Don't even need to squeeze it out. But it's still sad that I didn't get to enjoy it very much. Look how beautifully that shears out. Like, that is now such a usable color. Even though it's so bright upon first application, you just need to be very, very precious with it. But it looks beautiful on the skin, very natural flush. So maybe my April blush, I don't know, maybe I should have this in my makeup bag over the next few months, so that this is my, like, one of my main cream blushes, because I often use a cream blush and a powder blush together. It's a bit harder with this because it is so pigmented. So it's doable, but I have to be very, very careful. But I do need to use this for a month because it deserves it. And, you know, some of these products got short shrift this past year because of the focus on the older powder products in my blush roulette. The next one is my NYX Stick Blush in Tea Rose. I love this. This was a rediscovery. I think last summer actually is when I got it back into my rotation. It's just such a nice formula. It just looks so natural on the skin. It blends in really, really beautifully. I was often comparing this to the NYX cream blushes because it's a lot better than those. It is quite pigmented, so again, I have to be careful, but I do really like the way that this looks on the cheeks. And this was one of my go-to blushes this past year if I wanted a bit of cream blush, you know, something a bit more natural. If I wasn't doing very much makeup and I just wanted some color on my cheeks, this was the one that I would reach for. I just find it's more natural to use a cream blush than a powder blush, and these were new. So I only had these 2 to choose between, and this is more pigmented. So this was my go-to. And as I mentioned, I've got these 2 other ones. So this one was decluttered to me. This one, I purchased it in Ulta. Let's talk about this one first. This is from About Face in the shade Cheek Freak, and it's quite dark. This is darker than I generally look for in blushes. I have run out of space on my hand. So you can see it's a bit darker than the NYX one. Similar-ish to Mellow Wine, but maybe a bit more plum. But I do really like the formula. I wish it was a different shade, but I think the formula is really good. This blends out well on the cheeks. Honestly, I think the NYX one is still a better formula, but I have been happy to have this in my collection because, as I've said, like, I want more cream blushes. I just like them better than powder blushes these days. So for now, this will be sticking around. Thank you to Shauna for decluttering it to me. I think it's pretty decent. And then this one, okay, just the other day, someone commented that Beauty Counter is an MLM, which sucks because obviously I do not want to support MLMs. I got this in Ulta. This sort of goes back to, like, don't buy products spontaneously. I was in the US in Ulta. I had maybe 20 minutes in there to scope out what I wanted to purchase. Was obviously rushing around. I think there might have been Wi-Fi. So I was trying to, like, look up this brand and, like, the different colors. Obviously it was all super last minute. And I remember someone talking about this brand positively. That's why I had heard of it. Like, maybe Kelly Gooch. I could be making that up though. But yeah, apparently it's an MLM. So not happy. Not happy about that at all. I tried to find more information because there were some articles that said that they were either closing or they were getting rid of the MLM aspect. I didn't really understand. But anyways, all this to say, don't buy from them. Do your research. Don't be like me. This is in the shade Cider. I have not used this yet, if you can believe it. I do think it looks beautiful, kind of like Rare Beauty. Look at that shade. I don't even want to touch it, but based on the swatches I saw online, it looked right up my alley. Similar, I think, to this one. Like if I had to compare it to any of mine, obviously it's not the same. This is more mauve, this is more coral, but maybe like this one. No, this is more pink. I don't know if this is similar to anything I had. That's why I chose it, because I felt like I was trying to fill a gap, and this was exactly the shade I was looking for. Maybe similar to this, although this is obviously more glowy. That's my main issue with it, that it's so powdery and so glowy, and this is a similar shade, kind of, while not having either of those issues. So I am excited to use it, but again, beware. I do apologize for buying from an MLM. It definitely was not intentional. That I will probably either wait to open during the holidays when I have some time to play around with makeup, or save it as a 2025 new product, because I don't plan to get any new products by the end of the year. So it is kind of nice to have something to like feel like it's a new product starting off the year. So those are my 4 cream blushes. Last year I had 4 as well. Right, so I had 2 milk cream blushes. One of them I panned, one of them I decluttered. Again, don't love the formula. And now I have these 4. So this has stayed the same. This has stayed the same. That has gone down. So that's great. Overall, we're seeing numbers go down slightly, which is the goal. Oh, in total, we've got 14 blushes total, if that makes a difference to you. Okay, I was just trying to figure out how I categorize things. So these are my highlights. Honestly, I don't really use this as a highlight, but it is. So this is my only cream highlight, and I really thought it would be done by the end of the year, and it still might be. This is all that's left. It is not even December yet while I'm filming this, so, you know, there's still time. I'm like, where can I fit this? It's just beautiful. It blends out so well. Let me see if I can show you. There's like an edge there. That's like a plastic rim. So it's almost at that edge. There is probably going to be product inside, but we're almost at the like base layer of the product. So I think I can get that part finished. I don't know if I can get what's inside finished by the end of the year, but this is currently my only cream highlight. I think I would like to have another cream highlight in the future. I don't think that it's going to be a priority product. Yeah, it's kind of like a nice to have, not a need to have. I'm not going to be like, oh, I finished this, so I need to go run out and replace this product, or, you know, this type of product. I'm fine without it. I can wait till something comes up that I really, really want, or till someone declutters something to me, whatever. No rush on that. And then we've got this MAC product. This is a highlight that smash. You can see it's only my MAC products that break. Don't be deceived into thinking that I only drop my MAC products. All products equally get dropped, but MAC are the only ones that break. There has been a lot of progress on this past year, which is great. Every year, again, I say, I think I could finish this next year. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I still have hope, but I do have hope that you will be able to see progress. So that is something. This, honestly, I have not reached for at all because I just used that one up. I count this as 1.5 products just because it is one and the same, but it's in 2 separate containers, so that feels like a good in-between to me. I like this. I still really like this product. Is it the kind of product that, like, today I would purchase? No, I think my highlighting preference have changed. I probably got this 10 years ago. I don't know. And so I wouldn't repurchase it, but I do still enjoy it. Oh, I realized I forgot one. Okay, so maybe I do count this as eyeshadow. What do I call it? Yeah, this is eyeshadow. Okay, ignore that. This is my final highlight. This is from Becca. It is a pale pink shade. It's super pretty, although it is quite powdery. It's really iridescent. I don't reach for it very much because I am trying so hard to pan that, but I think that this deserves a month of its own. So you know what? Let's use this as my December highlight, just for fun, because I'm not getting this used up in December. It's not happening. So let's give myself a break from that, and let's switch over to this December is a more fun month. You know, you can kind of like let yourself, I mean, you can let yourself use what you want, whatever time of year, but it makes more sense when it's, you have time off to play with makeup, you have holiday parties. So yeah, let's bring that into my makeup bag for the next month. These are my 4 highlights. This is going to be done very shortly, so I will be down to 1.5, which will feel great. Highlight is not something that I like care a ton about. It is a product that I use pretty much every day, but I feel like these products get the job done. You know what I mean? Okay, next let's move on to powders. So once again, we have a category that is exactly the same from last year. Same number of highlights, same number of face powders. Last year I had 3, exact same number. Let's go through them. This, it's a bit dusty, Nude by Nature. I don't think I reached for this very much this year. I really like this powder actually, but the fact that it's loose, it's more work. And I don't love getting powder everywhere. So I don't reach for it much. Because mostly I use like a big fluffy brush for powder, which doesn't work so well with this. I have other brushes that I can use, and I even have a little kind of powder puff. But again, it's just more work. So I split this year between working on, even you can see right now, there's powder coming out, just opening and closing it. So I split this year between working on these 2. This is the one that I'm working on right now. And honestly, I don't love it. It's taken me some time to figure that out. For whatever reason, this part keeps crumbling. It's not like I'm like digging my nail in. It's like every couple days I open it and there's like more pieces crumbled, which is annoying. I know people love this. This is just like the CoverGirl clean press powder, just the basic one. I've owned, I think, 2 of these before, but it could be the brush I'm using. It doesn't lay nicely on my skin, especially when I first apply it. It's not that it looks cakey, it just looks powdery. So I don't love that. This is what I've been using, I think, for maybe the past 3 or so months. And prior to that, I was using this for most of the year until I realized that I had hit pan. Look at that. Can you see that? I used to think that this was a highlight because mineralized skin finish. The other highlight that I have, this one that I just showed, this is a mineralized skin finish. These are the same. So I thought that this was just another highlight, but it is a powder, and I ended up hitting pan on there. And so I decided that this will be one of my 2025 Project Pan items. I'm giving a lot of spoilers in this I'm just letting you know all the products that I will be panning in 2025, but it makes sense. Like as soon as I see a pan, I'm like, oh, we've hit the bottom. It's time. We're nearing the end days. Even though, of course, that's not even necessarily the case. Like if I started using this today and I used it every single day, it would probably still take like 6 months to use up, because that's just how powder products work. But that being said, 6 months, hey, could have it finished by the end of 2025, which is the goal, because I do like this more than this one, that's for sure. But as soon as I hit pan on something, I'm ready to start thinking about it leaving my collection. So those are the 3 powders in my collection. I like this a lot, but not the formulation, I guess. The type of product it is. Quite like this, don't so much like that. So my powder category is not my favorite. It is what it is. It's fine. It gets the job done. Similar to highlight, I'm like, it's fine. I'm not that excited by powder products. Okay, we can also do, I think we're gonna do 2 more categories, which are eyeshadow and mascara, and then the rest of it is going to be saved for part 2. Oh, I forgot. They don't call me Lara Likes Mascara for nothing now, do they? Alright, here's my mascara collection. So I actually counted these up in advance. I will recount them just in case. But I have 1 less than last year. So progress, but extremely minimal progress, unfortunately. Okay, folks, here's the thing. I know this is too many mascaras to have open at once. I know that I have had all of these open for too long. However, okay, this first thing is going to be a dumb thing to say. I've never had an issue with it. I know that that does not prevent me from having an issue in the future. I totally could. But I also have a partner, my fiance is a scientist, and I have had him do tests on these mascaras because people are so freaked out about bacteria in mascaras that you've had open for too long and whatever. Zero issues, zero bacteria. So that gave me a little bit of peace of mind. I do not want to prescribe to you the same thing as me. Do what you want with mascara. Keep them open for however long is comfortable for you. I just wanted to preface all of this with all of that. So let's do how we're gonna do this. Let's count them up first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 23. Yeah, so last year I had 24. This year I have 23. I mean, I'm glad I have one fewer than last year, but at the same time, it's unfortunate that I wasn't able to use up more mascaras than that. I don't know. It takes so long to use one up for me because I often do revive them with contact solution. How should we do this? I guess high-end versus drugstore. Let's do it that way. I thought I had 5 high-end ones. I could be missing one, or that could have been the one that I finished this year. I don't know. So my friend actually decluttered this one to me this year. She had never used it, but it used to be her favorite, and so she had repurchased quite a few backups. I have not opened it yet. I haven't used it. This might be, again, one that I use as like a new 2025 mascara, even though I definitely don't need any new mascaras, as you can see. But I want to use this at some point, and I want to be excited about the new year and my collection, so I think that will help. I do like all of my high-end mascaras, I will say that. I guess that's something. Like, well, okay, we're looking at 3. All of these are very, very good. I wouldn't say that across the board all of these are very, very good, but it's obviously, this is a smaller sample size, so I'm not gonna extrapolate and say that like all high-end mascaras are good and only some drugstore mascaras are good. That's not the case. I just haven't tried very many high-end mascaras because I find that drugstore mascaras are so good. This has actually been my favorite of this year, which is shocking. This used to be one that I never reached for. I did not like. It's, it's great lash. It's a basic one. It's just a waterproof version. But I have been loving it this year. It just gives the exact right amount of like length and volume, and it doesn't over clump. Like with some of these, I find, especially light camera lashes, that one can get a little bit too much, a little bit too clumpy, and it might be because of the wand, because it is so much bigger. But that Great Lash one, it always delivers the perfect amount. I still wouldn't say that it's as good as my beloved 1x1, because this is able to like fix mascara problems because of the brush, because it's such like precise little comb. It can really get through the lashes and get rid of clumps. This one is not able to do that, but it's still excellent. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will briefly touch on them. Haven't used that one. Like it a lot. Very good separating wand. Good, but can get clumpy. Good, quite thick. Haven't opened either of these. Yes, I probably should have decluttered them ages ago, but I didn't, and so now I'm stuck with them. These two, oh yeah, I actually technically have not ever opened those. Ooh, again, can't pass them on to someone now because I've had them for so long. This used to be a favorite. I find it gets a bit clumpy. Oh, this one I don't think I've opened either. I don't know why I had so many of those Revlon ones. Don't ask. This one I like, used to love. This one I like, used to love. Oh, this one is basically dried up. This is one, yeah, I think that I should bring this into my makeup bag and try to use it up because it is pretty close to being dried up. So put that over there so I remember. This one is good, separating brush, excellent, very like thick lashes. This used to be one of my favorites. This is pretty good for a non-waterproof mascara. I used to really dislike it, but it did grow on me. This is the best. This, very similar to this one, although not quite as volumizing, but it's good. This one I don't like very much. This one I also don't like very much because it makes my lashes fall. This one, same issue. I have it in my makeup bag right now, and I'm going to transition this to a brow gel shortly as soon as I get a bit more product used up so that it is a bit less wet. This one also mostly used up, so I'm trying to finish that one off. Remember to put it in the bag. And then this one is just excellent. So those are all of my mascaras. Yeah, say what you want about my makeup collection, my makeup habits. I love mascara. You cannot dispute the name. Okay, moving on to the final category of this video, which will be eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to break it up, and in this one do palettes, and in the next video I will be doing single eyeshadows. Okay, here we go. So it's a lot of eyeshadow palettes. How many did we have last year? Last year I had 11. I think that number is honestly probably gone up, but let's check. I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit them all in here. Yeah, I don't think you can see them all. There we go. Is that, oh, you can't see the top layer, can you? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13. I have 2 more eyeshadow palettes compared to last year. That is not great because my goal was 10. Like, I did not want more than 10. I will say that I have not bought an eyeshadow palette since these two. Yes, Please and Orangey Glad. I bought both of these in 2020. It was early pandemic days. Those were good purchases. I was really happy with them. But I haven't bought any new palettes in 4 years, and yet the palettes that I have brought into my collection since then have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so the only palettes that I had before that I have kept have been Naked Heat, this collection one, and this e.l.f. one. So I have not been intentionally trying to grow my collection, but this just tends to be what people gift me or declutter to me. It's palettes. And I've obviously been good at decluttering them because you can see most of these were new palettes, and so I obviously had palettes before that I used to have that I have since decluttered. But this is too big. I had actually planned to do an eyeshadow roulette in 2025. Now I have 13 palettes, so I have too many. I didn't even anticipate this. I have more eyeshadow palettes than I can use with a 1 month per year model, but I think I know what to do. So what I'm gonna do, not because of this, I have been thinking about this, is declutter my beloved old e.l.f. palette. I'm not going to say how long I've had this because it is embarrasso. This is a good palette. I bought 2 at this time. I had another one that was like brown and purple predominantly that I loved at the time. I never reached for this, but I since loved this one and not that one. I decluttered that one years and years ago because I was just never reaching for it, whereas I thought that this was actually a really solid palette. It had good pinks. I didn't have other pinks in my collection. I didn't have other yellows. Like, look, it's still really nice and pigmented. Okay, those were bad swatches, but you know what I mean? And like those yellows, these browns, that is a perfect brown shade for me. That is an excellent yellow. That is a great bronzy shade. So this is a good palette, but I just have better palettes. I've just had this for so long and I haven't reached for it, for sure not in 2024, maybe like early 2023. I definitely want to get a bit more use out of this before I declutter it, which is hard because I already have palettes in mind for my December looks. Obviously really want to get some use out of Gemini in December because look at those rich greens, yellows. This is just so earthy and excellent for the holidays. And because I was recently decluttered this palette, and oh my god, look at those colors. Ugh, it's been so fun to play around with this, and I haven't even gotten around to using the yellow yet. But I think maybe I will pull all 3 of them into my basket in December because I want to get some more use out of this, but I want it gone by the end of the year. So that's what I'm doing. It's not leaving today, but in my end of the year empties and declutters, that will be in it, and I will have 12 palettes. So we've got The Warrior 2, Julia's Place, The Warrior. These were buns trades. This I purchased in the UK way, way long ago. This was decluttered to me by Shauna maybe 2.5 years ago. That is a favorite. That one I purchased, loved it the first couple years, just don't reach for it as much anymore. I don't know, I guess, like, I still love orange. I don't love it as much as I used to. Naked Heat, favorite. If I had to choose a favorite palette in my collection, it still might be this one. I wore this for the first time for the Reputation Stadium Tour in 2018 or 2019. Obsessed, obsessed, obsessed. Still one of my very best looks. Yes, Please. ColourPop, as I mentioned, that one was decluttered to me, again, by the same friend who decluttered this one to me. Don't love it. I could see that one getting decluttered next year easily. This one was decluttered to me by Shauna. There's a few shades in there that I love, but I don't reach for it that much because it is just so shimmery, and I don't tend towards shimmers except for certain occasions. And then Latte Kitten, which my mom gifted to me, and there's some nice shades in there, but overall I don't reach for it that much. So let me open up the other palettes so you can see all of them. But yes, I have a plan. In 2025, I am going to spend a month on each of these palettes because these ones I haven't used at all in 2024, and same with these two. I don't think I've reached for at all. I think this is just a bit too dark for me. Like, I like shimmers, but I don't like dark shimmers because I put shimmers in the inner corner of my lid, and that's not where dark shimmer goes. This one I use a lot for blush. I still don't have an orange blush, so that's great. At least not that color. The rest of them, I use that one a little bit. That one, the rest of them, not very much. Classic. I showed that already. Orangey Glad. So orange, so fun, very springy. I find this hard to wear in the fall and winter. Stunning. I wore this to the Eras tour. I think these were the shades that I reached for. This I've been using actually a lot more than I used to, because over the past month and a half I've been trying on a lot of wedding dresses, and this is just like a good go-to. Very, very like neutral, light, like I see this as kind of a bridal palette because there's no shimmers. It's just like a light pink or light orange or light brown. So that's been great to have a use for that. So many shimmers. I'm not a big taupe person, so that's why this is harder to reach for. I showed that one. Incredible shimmers. The rest of them I don't reach for very much. But that's a nice brown, and that is as well. I think I don't gravitate towards pinks as much as I used to. This one, I use that shade, and I honestly think that's it. So this could definitely be decluttered next year. And finally, Yes Please. These are nice, but for whatever reason, I don't reach for this very often. And that is it. Those are all of my eyeshadow palettes. That is everything for the first part of this inventory. If I don't do an outro, thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to come back next week for part 2 of the inventory, where I will show all of my single eyeshadows, all of my brow products, all of my eyeliners, and most importantly, all of my lip products. And we will be able to see how many lip products I officially got out in 2024. I feel like that will be the single biggest change to my collection, so I'm really excited to find out at the same time as you guys what changes I've made in that regard, thanks to my lipstick project pan. So thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you next week. Bye!